you asked. If you look at the word, okay, inside of it, we see the word demonstrate, okay? Demonstratives are used to show or to demonstrate or to point certain things out, okay? Now, in English and Inglés, the demonstratives are words like this and that, okay? Now, let's just do this. Okay, what is the difference if I say this book versus, and I'm pointing at Lexi's, that book?
Ownership. Distance.
Number one, ownership, but more specifically, gracias, distance, okay? This is are close to you, that's are farther away, okay? One of my language professors was like, this would be anything in this radius, okay? Whereas that would be beyond it, okay? Now, this book, this phone, this water bottle, pretty easy in English. But en español, remember that all of these nouns have gender, okay? So, este is the masculine this, está is the feminine this. Este libro, este teléfono, esta agua. Okay? This book, this phone, this water bottle. Okay? So we use masculine or feminine depending on what the gender of the thing is. Okay? Ese libro, that book. Okay? Next to her is esa mochila, that backpack. So the masculine form, the feminine form. Okay? These are our singular demonstratives. What are lots of thises? Okay, these. So I could be like, these books, estos libros. Okay, those books, esos libros. Okay, looking at Brooke and Brooklyn, all right, esas chicas, those girls. Okay, they're right here, salud, all right, so yeah, okay, so this and these. Now, if you want to remember, and maybe some of you have heard the rhyme, when you want to translate it into English, okay, this and these have T's, that and those, the T goes. Because if you look at este and ese, it's the same word except this has a T, this does not. This has a T, this does not. This has a T, this has not. Lo siento. Oops, wrong way. All right? This has a T, this does not. Okay? This and these have T's, that and those, the T goes. All right? Preguntas so far. All right. So, everything I just went through, you can kind of see at the very top, okay? Now, I'm not quite done, all right? Because en español, okay, this, that, we have a separate word for the thing that is the farthest away. So I'm looking at Kate. All right, because she is literally in the back of the room up against the wall. All right, we have a word for that over there. All right, and that would be aquel. Okay, so looking at Katie's book, I would be like aquel libro, that book way back there. Okay, or I suppose the desk next to her, aquel pupitre. That desk that's way back there, okay? Maybe Shuya complains that his chair is gross and so is the one next to him. So I say, well, go get aquella silla, all right? There's a whole stack of chairs way back there in the corner. even farther behind large. Okay, so ese, aquel. All right, we don't have that third word in English. We just say, oh, that chair way back there. Okay, in Espanol it's aquel. All right, but please be aware, just as an FYI, most Spanish speakers will only use these four. Okay, these, even though they're part of the grammar, they're not used that often. Okay, it happens, but not frequently. Okay, preguntas on that. Finalmente. At the very, well, in the middle, okay? And this is really tripping me up because they've only recently changed this. But we can also use demonstratives as pronouns, okay? Instead of saying this book, you can just say this one, all right? So instead of saying este libro, you can just point and say este, all right? Now, the part that messes Santos up is because up until about 3 years ago, you used to have to put an accent mark on the first E to show you that I'm not saying this book, I'm saying this one. They have since removed the accent mark. And so if you just want to say this one, este. It's more of a spoken thing though, and I think that's why they took away the accent mark, because obviously if I do this, este, you already know which one I'm talking about. I'm talking about which book. Okay. That one right there. You know, oh, este, quiero este, I want this one. Okay, it literally means this one. All right, or esta. Yeah, I want this one. Okay. Whereas in writing, you typically don't use it. So it makes sense, but Senor Santos still gets confused because I'm used to seeing the accent. And if I write it, I'll write it. The last thing, all right, at the very bottom. Don't worry, I won't give you demonstrative pronouns usually, just because of that, since they've changed it now. There's no way to tell, all right? But when it comes to demonstratives, this is the only time in Espanol that you ever have to deal with neuter. That's the third gender. What do we mean by neuter? Neutral. Yeah, neutral. It has no gender, okay? Every noun in Spanish is either masculine or feminine, okay? I had to study German. In German, they actually use the neutral gender, okay? The word for boat, believe it or not, is just boot, and it's spelled like boot, all right, B-O-O-T. Boats are neutral. It's das Boot, okay? The word for house is just house, H-A-U-S. Houses are neutral. It's das Haus, okay? And that always messed me up because I'd be like, house, casa, feminine. Santos would get it wrong, all right? So yeah, that's why my German isn't as good as it should be. But the only time in Espanol that we use neutrals is with demonstratives, okay? So in addition to a masculine and a feminine this, there is also a neutral this, and that is esto. In addition to a masculine and feminine that, there is a neutral that, and in addition to a masculine and feminine that over there, there is a neutral that over there. Okay? Now, sometimes students ask, Senor Santos, but if all nouns in Spanish are either masculine or feminine, when would you use a neutral? Well, I'm glad you asked. Number one, if you don't know what something is, if I don't know that this is called a bolígrafo. All right? And I say, Logan, what is this in Spanish? Okay? I can't use a masculine or feminine because I don't know. ¿Qué es este? ¿Qué es esta? So we say, ¿qué es esto? What is this? ¿Qué es esto? And she says, un bolígrafo. Oh, este bolígrafo es mi favorito. All right? Now that I know that bolígrafo and it ends in O, so I'm assuming it's masculine, I can use the masculine. And it works either way. If Logan decides to give me the feminine form, oh, una pluma. It's a pen, a pluma. Oh, esta pluma es mi favorita. Is my favorite pen. Okay? But as long as I don't know what something is, okay, ¿qué es esto en español? What is this in Spanish? And you're like, oh, la puerta. Okay, esta puerta es fea. This door is ugly. Okay? But I wanted to know how to say it all in Spanish. So if I don't know, then, okay? And by the same token, okay, I can ask, I might ask Shuya, ¿qué es eso? What is that? Okay, I don't know. I seriously don't know what this is. All right, so, oh, for your glass. Gracias. So because I don't know what it is, I don't know what to call it, I don't know what gender to use. So you use the neutral, okay? And because it's like farther away, then ¿qué es eso? Okay? I could like look and I think I see something on that chair. Hey, Katie, ¿qué es aquello? Well, we usually don't use aquello that often, so I shouldn't even ask that, okay? Strike that, pretend I didn't say it, okay? Typically, we reserve aquello for historical events. Sorry, I just got too excited there, okay? So yeah, all right? Now, second reason why we would use it. Abstract concepts don't have gender, okay? Let's see, this time we'll pick on Andres back there, okay? Andres is late to class today. He wasn't, but let's pretend he is. And he goes, Senor Santos, first off, I missed my alarm, so I was late. So I had to skip my shower and I just had to throw on whatever. And then I got into my car and as I was driving, I got a flat. So boom, I had to get out there and change the tire and that's why I'm all dirty even more than I was before. And so then I'm like, well, damn, now I'm really late. And so I just started speeding down the parkway and then I get pulled over for speeding and I get a ticket. And I literally just walked in Logan's like, that happened to me. And so I pulled in right now and I'm sorry, I know I've missed most of class. And I say, Andres, lo siento, I'm sorry. That is terrible. Eso es terrible. Okay? And I use eso because it happened to him. If it had happened to me, I could sit there and go, esto. This is awful. Okay? Awfulness has no gender. That abstract concept of awfulness, okay? It could be the other way around, okay? He could have had the best day ever. He found $300 on the ground, bought a winning lottery ticket. He stopped for gas and boom, the scratcher. And, he got that, $1,000 a day for life one. And I'm like, wow, eso es, magnifico. Eso es, buenísimo. Magnificence, goodness, all of that does not have gender, okay? A situation as a whole, because today I walked in a little late, And let's say you guys, like, I don't know, Katie decided to stop at Dunkin' and bought like 2 of the big boxes of coffee and like 3 dozen donuts, and everybody's like eating and drinking when I walk in. What is this? We use the neutral. ¿Qué es esto? Like, what the hell's going on? All right, describing the fact that, you know, Shuya is eating donuts, Dale is drinking coffee that's not from Stewart's. All right, you know, you two are fighting over the last Boston cream. And so I'm just like, you're like, we would. I'm like, what is this? ¿Qué es esto? Okay. And yeah, Nixon would say, es una fiesta, Señor Santos. I'm like, okay, me gusta esta fiesta, now that I know what the hell's going on. Okay? So to describe a situation as a whole. All right? And once again, just like with these, we don't use the aquello or the aquella or whatever. Like I said, I totally forgot. But typically with historical events, like if you're talking about something in the past, you know, el Holocaust, you would say, aquello fue terrible. That was a terrible time in history. Okay? You wouldn't say eso. Okay? I mean, you could, but typically you would use it for historical events. Okay? So, para terminar, we're going to do 1, 2, 3,
I do the
4. Okay, so they give you the demonstrative. Okay, you just have to decide if you're going to use the masculine one or the feminine one. So if you look at the first sentence, ¿te gustan these vestidos? What is vestido? Masculine or feminine? Masculine, yeah. And it's plural, so these. So would it be estos vestidos or estas vestidos? Estos.